Understanding the science of any climate technology is really important. What happens at the chemical level, what happens at the material levels, and understanding the economics of a technology is just as important, which is how much are the things going to cost? What are all the inputs to that system? And as part of our accelerator program, we trained 227 carbon dioxide removal startups on how to do that. It's called a techno-economic assessment. All that was led by Grant Faber. He's formerly at the DOE and the University of Michigan Global CO2 Initiative, and now he's at Absolute Climate. And Grant loves this stuff. And that's where I got my appreciation from it, and we shared that with all of our teams. Basically, techno-economic assessment comes down to it's this big spreadsheet that takes in all your different inputs to the system. Things like costs. So, whatever the method of carbon dioxide removal, there's probably some labor, there's some materials, there's some energy, those kinds of things. And you put those all in and you get a sense of, well, what is this system actually going to cost to run? I was watching a TED talk about marine cloud brightening, and it's a new concept for me. I'm very familiar with all these methods for carbon dioxide removal, but this is something that's about sunlight reflection, and it has different pieces and different mechanics that I didn't really understand. So I went back to this trusty tool of techno-economic assessment. I said, I'm going to build a model to understand what this is. So I did that. And it's really like that economic lens, getting perspective on, well, what are the big costs in this system? And more than just what are the big costs, what are the costs in a system that if you change them a little bit, they make the cost completely change, right? So what are the things where there's actually a lot of leverage where you could, for example, if you get the cost down a little bit, it really, really pays off. And there's other parts of the system where, if you improve the cost a little bit, the cost gets a little, if you improve the cost of one component, then the cost of the system improves a little bit, which makes sense. But there are some points in many systems where there's something if you change it a little bit, the whole thing gets a lot better. And so it was cool going through and building that model out to start to find these things. So if you are working on a technology for climate solutions and you haven't done a techno-economic assessment, or maybe you did a really complex one like 2 years ago and you never went back and touched it, I encourage you just go back and take a look, and you can rebuild it. This is something you can do in like an hour. Is you can come up with kind of like a really simple version would be a napkin diagram, but you want to do something in a spreadsheet so then you can get a sense of you change these little things, what happens to the outputs. There's some great templates that Grant published as part of his work at the Global CO2 Initiative, and I'm happy to share out the marine cloud brightening example if that's helpful for you. And yeah, take the opportunity to map out the techno economics of whatever you're working on. Alongside the science, understand the economics of any system that you're building is really important. So I look forward to hearing from you about your techno economic assessments.